Hello, everyone. Welcome to this session on online classroom experience. My name is Rajlaxmi, and I'm a faculty member at the Department of Electrical Engineering at IIT Jodhpur. An online learning and teaching environment essentially tries to recreate exactly how a personal classroom experience would be like. And it typically consists of the following elements: synchronous learning or video lectures, online learning management systems, and a mechanism to monitor and manage the students' progress online. So, by synchronous learning, we mean conducting lectures live. That means students would join it live. Right? But practically, all students may not always have a reliable internet connection. And in view of limited connectivity, an instructor may choose to create video lectures, which the students can then refer to online or offline at their own convenience. So I've made a separate video on some simple ways that you can use to create video lectures from home using some free online tools. The link is also in the description of this video. So today I'll be talking about online learning management systems, particularly a very popular platform called Google Classroom, and a platform to monitor and manage student progress online through interactive videos, which is called EdPuzzle. So let us get started with Google Classroom. So Google Classroom is a one-stop solution for any instructor. It has excellent user interface and functionalities. I have been using Google Classroom for the past 2.5 years, and I find it particularly useful while dealing with very large classes. One of the most useful functionalities of Google Classroom is that you can allow online submission as well as grading of assignments. You can announce the assignment online. The student can solve the assignment in their own notebooks. They do not have to physically submit the assignment. In fact, they may not even need to scan the assignment because there is also a separate Google Classroom app. The students as well as the instructor can download the app from Play Store, and students can simply click and upload via that app. Right? You can also check the assignments and assign a grade or marks to the assignment and return them back to the students. You can have all the classroom related materials in one place. That means you can share the attendance, you can share solutions, any other additional resources, lab manuals, video lectures, any demos that you want to share. Everything can be put in one place using Google Classroom. It can also be used as a discussion forum. That means students can post comments which may be visible to the entire class, or they can put a private comment just to the instructor. So it can be used for discussions. Because it's in the form of an app, the students also get notification every time you post an assignment, or if there is, say, any assignment due today, they'll get that kind of a message. Another very useful functionality, especially in today's time, is conducting online quizzes. I'll show you how. And as of last month, Google Classroom can also be integrated with Google Meet. That means you will have a dedicated Google Meet link for your Google Classroom, and you can directly access that link from your Google Classroom dashboard. Students can access it directly from the dashboard or from the app, and they can directly join any live discussion that you would like to have with the students. So to create a Google Classroom, the first thing you need to do is go to classroom.google.com while you're logged in from your Google account, and that should take you a page like this. If you have any current ongoing classroom, you'll see them here. So I right now have this course on Introduction to Electrical Engineering. You can see how many students are registered in this course and some additional information about the course. So to create a new class, you need to click here. It says create or join class. If you are a student, then you will click on join class. If you are an instructor wanting to create a class, this is where you click. So the essential information here that is needed is the name of the class. So let me call it a test class 2020. Let me give any random section, say first year, some subject electrical engineering, and let me say this class is held in lecture hall building, room number 308. So these three fields are just additional information. You could just simply skip them while creating your first test class. It is the name of the class which is mandatory. Then you click create. So the class has been created. On the main dashboard, you see only active classes, but if you want to view previous classes, you can simply archive them and you can view the archived classes here. So right now there are 0 students because I've not added any students in this class yet. Now what you see here is the main stream of the class. So whatever you post here will appear on the feed of all the students. And there are 2 ways of inviting a student. So what you see here is a class code, which is a 7-letter code, right? If you make it full screen, you can simply share this in your class, say while you're in a physical classroom. And when the student goes to classroom.google.com, he or she would click on join class and then join your class using this class code. Another way of adding students is to go to people. Right now you see the name of the teacher. You can also invite other co-instructors by adding their email IDs here. You can invite the students by typing their email IDs. If you have the student roll list with all their email IDs, just need to paste their email IDs here and click on invite. Like I said before, Google Classroom as of last month has been integrated with Google Meet. That means we can generate a Meet link and we can connect with the students for distance learning. So this link is right now visible to students. So it is also going to appear on the students' dashboard when they log in. Right. If you want to share any message or notice or announcement with your class, you can simply type it here. So you also see an option of which class you want to post this to. So by default, this is test class 2020 that I just created, and all students are selected. Suppose you had a list of 100 students and you are posting this message specifically for say students who are deficient in attendance, right? So you could click and there would be a whole list of students that should appear here. You can separately select just those students for whom this message is intended to be. You can also include attachments in your messages. So it could be a Google Drive folder or a URL or a file, say a PDF file that you want to upload, or a YouTube video. In the settings here, please make sure that you keep receive email notifications as off, because if you keep them as on, every single activity of the students, say somebody submitted the assignment a little late, somebody resubmitted an assignment, for any student activity, your inbox will be bombarded by emails from Google Classroom. So it's always advisable to keep this notification as off. Other classroom settings can be seen from here. So you can change the description or update the description on the go. On the stream, you can either select the option where students can post and comment, or students can only comment, or only teachers can post or comment. You can see how the feed should appear. Should it show all the details, or should it show a condensed form, right? And some calculations of grades, or whether it should be visible to the students or not. So you can just save these settings. Going to some major functionalities of Google Classroom. The next tab that you see is classwork. Right? So this is where all your classroom material, assignments, questions, study resources, this is where all that goes. So you see the option of create, and there are option of creating assignment, quiz assignment, questions, material, or you can reuse certain posts, or you can add topics, right? So let's see how you can create an assignment. So say I call this assignment 1. You want to add some additional instructions for the students. This is where you type those instructions. On the right, you see you can assign points. So suppose I make it's an assignment for 10 points. You could have also chosen to keep it ungraded. Suppose you don't want to assign any marks for it, you would leave it as ungraded. We can assign a due date. Say the date is 29th May, midnight is the deadline. We could assign topic and also create a topic. Then there's an option of rubric. where you can add the criteria that will be used to evaluate the student work. Then comes originality reports. If your institution has the Google Education Suite and you're using Google Classroom as a part of that Google Suite, you would find this option of originality reports where you can enable originality reports on up to 3 assignments per class. That means if the student is submitting a typed assignment, right? If they've copied anything from the internet, this originality report is going to give you that idea. But you can do this for up to 3 assignments per class. This functionality, as far as I know, is not available in a general Google Classroom, which is outside the Google Education Suite. Right? And like before, you also have the option of either sending it to all students or giving this to a list of some selected students. Right? So you just check their names here instead. If you don't want to post the assignment right now, you also have an option to schedule this assignment later. Right? So you can save it as a draft, or you can say this assignment should be posted on 28th May at 8 a.m. Right? And then you click on schedule. In this assignment, you could have added a file or a link or a video. You could have also created any of these functionalities which are already a part of Google. Go to schedule, or you could have directly clicked on assign. Now, the moment you click this, the students would get a notification on their app and they'll get an email. You also have to remember to ask the students to keep notifications on for their phone app so that they don't miss any important announcements or updates. So let me show you how a typical assignment page would look like. So for my ongoing class right now, say this is one of the assignments. I gave them a set of questions to solve with a deadline. And since I have 146 students, it shows here that 143 students actually submitted the assignment and 3 students are still assigned. That means 3 students did not submit the assignment yet. So if I view assignment now, we can see a comprehensive list of all the students listed in this course and those who have turned in the assignment, that means submitted the assignment, it says turned in. Say a student submits the assignment after deadline, that can also be clearly identified because it would say turned in, done late. Right? So it was submitted after the deadline. So when you create a Google class, automatically a folder will be created in your Google Drive corresponding to this class. So all these assignments basically go in your Google Drive. Say I open one of these assignments, I can scroll through the entire assignment. So the student can also write a comment along with the assignment while submitting. If there's anything you want the student to improve or update in the assignment, you can write this as a comment. Within the assignment, if you want to make any comment, just need to go to add comment and say, select the particular area. If you have any remark to write there, this is where you can write that remark. So this was a non-graded assignment. Typically in a graded assignment, you'll also have the option of giving marks. After you have graded, you can simply click on return assignment. The students cannot see each other's assignment. Only the instructor can view the assignment. After you have graded, you'll see another entry here next to assigned about how many assignments you've already graded. If this was a graded assignment, you can also download all grades and all scores, or you can copy them into Google Sheets and download as an Excel file. Going back to the test class, the next interesting functionality is using Google Classroom to conduct online quizzes for continuous evaluation. So when you click on quiz assignment, so the procedure is just like a regular assignment, but this time you notice that there's a default Google form blank quiz that appears here. So let me call it quiz 1. If there are some additional instructions, they go here. And here you can create a quiz using Google Forms for your students. The option of importing grade is turned on. That means whatever is the score that your students get, can directly be imported here to Google Classroom. All right. So say I click on this blank form, it's taking me to a Google Forms page. I'm going to rename this to quiz 1 because that's what we've decided to call this quiz. Understand that this is just a Google form. Could have directly gone to forms.google.com, and from the settings here, you could have selected this option of make this a quiz. And then you could have taken this link, copied this link, and gone to the Google class and added here in the form of a link. So you can do it either way. I'm just continuing the link which we found on Google Class. So you have the option of having multiple choice questions or check boxes or drop down or short answers or paragraph answers. I'm just taking an example of a simple multiple choice question. Here I can assign answer key. That means if I want this question to carry 1 mark, I set it as 1. I'll also need to choose what is the correct answer. So say I click here so that we know what is the correct answer. So in this way, your quiz becomes auto-graded. Means it will be automatically graded and a score will be generated. If there is any comment additionally that you want to add, you can write it here for all incorrect answers as well as for correct answers. If there's any additional comment that you want to add, or if there's a video that you would like the students to be redirected to while viewing the answers. And you click on done. An important thing to note here is that you go to settings and under quizzes, do not release the grade immediately. You select the option of releasing it later after a manual review so that students don't see the answers immediately when they submit. Let everybody submit the quiz and then you release the grades manually after everybody has submitted. Right? And these options are already selected. That means once the grades are going to be released on Google Classroom, right? Remember I said that you can import these grades to Google Classroom. Once those grades are released there, the students will also be able to see the correct answers of each of the questions. Another important thing is that we limit this to 1 response only. I've unchecked the option of allowing students to edit after they have submitted so that it's a one-time submission. You may also choose to click response receipt always so that students always have a copy of what they submitted. So the quiz is ready. There is nothing else to be done here. If you want to make this question mandatory, you can click on required. Otherwise, you can just leave it as it is. You may also add name and roll number based on your requirement. I've not added it because I'm going to assign this directly through Google Classroom. So while importing, these grades will automatically be mapped to the students from whose account this quiz was solved. We have the quiz ready here, quiz number 1 that we assigned. Let me change the points. You may or may not keep a due date. What you can do is here in the quiz, when the time is up, you can simply stop accepting responses. Again, if you want to make multiple sets of question papers, you can make different forms, and from the list that should appear here, you can check and select the students to whom you're assigning this quiz. You can again assign or schedule. So I'm turning the responses on, and suppose I appear in this quiz and this is the correct answer and I click submit. Suppose this was a student. Clicks on submit. Now the response has been received here, right? And it says how much score did I get. Like this, all the students who appear, their names are going to appear one below the other. You can also see a chart of how many students gave what kind of answer, like a summary of different answers and the performance of the students in these different answers. And the score is not yet released. So after everybody's quiz is over and the deadline is over, then you can simply click on release scores and all the students can receive their respective scores on email. So if I had assigned later after the deadline is over and everybody is submitted, you've released the score, you can simply click here to import the grades from that form to the Google Classroom. Okay, so right now it's not going to have any data because there are no students. And although I solved the quiz, but I was not a part of this Google Classroom as a student, right? So there's no student to whom I actually assigned this quiz. Next is grades. So let me show you how a summary of grades would look like in an actual classroom. So this is like a comprehensive summary of all the assignments or all the quizzes that were posted and the scores that the students got in those respective assignments, along with the date and along with the class average. Going back to classwork, you could create a question, you could create a folder and upload, say, class notes, some lab manuals, any material that you want to share with the students using this option of material. The link of Meet also appears right here. So you can directly click on this and enter the meeting. Students can also directly click on that link from their dashboards and join the meeting. And you can go to the class folder and view all your files related to this Google Class in one place. So right now we just created one quiz, so that's about it. So these are more or less the functionalities of Google Classroom. The online nature of this entire exercise and the entire process kind of becomes paperless, completely digital, right? So this was about Google Classroom. This is one of the most popular, very interactive online learning management system. So I hope you explore this. So I move on to the next topic for today's discussion, that is managing and monitoring students' progress through interactive videos. So suppose you created a video lecture, right? You can share it on Google Classroom or you upload it on YouTube. You share it with the students. But how do you make sure that the students are actually watching that video and understanding what's going on in the video lecture? So if this was a physical classroom and if you're explaining a concept, you can always pause and shoot a quick question and get an idea of whether the students are understanding this or not, right? And you can see whether they're actually listening or not. But how to do that through a video lecture? This is where comes into picture the platform called EdPuzzle. EdPuzzle is a platform using which you can convert your regular video into an interactive video. That means you can insert questions in between the video to get an idea of how attentively the student is listening to the video. All right. And EdPuzzle can also be integrated with Google Classroom. So let's see how. The instructor goes to edpuzzle.com, creates an account. You click on My Content. And what you can do here is you can create an assignment using any existing video on YouTube. You could use your own video or you can use any other video on YouTube, right? Or you can upload a video. So I'm going to create a video using one of my own video lectures. So I'm just selecting, right? So one of my video lectures has been imported here. Now, typically the video lectures are say 45 minutes of duration, right? But students may have limited data per day with them. So I typically divide video assignments into 2 or 3 parts so that students can manage their data accordingly. So suppose this is a 1-hour video. The first option is to cut this video. So I'm just trimming this video, say up to about 22.5 minutes. So that option is there. You could have as well taken the entire video. There was no harm. This is just an additional flexibility that you have on choosing what is the duration of the video that you want to assign to the students. The next step, you have the option of adding a voiceover. That means you can replace the existing audio with an explanation in your own words. And you can also add questions, and this is how you make this video interactive. So you could add multiple choice questions anywhere in between. So suppose the video starts playing. So I can just click this progress dot to say somewhere here, right? And this is where in the video I want to pose a question just to check whether students are really listening. So here I can add a multiple choice question. If somebody is watching the video, they can clearly see that this IC7400 has 4 NAND gates. Right? So this is just a very simple way to keep the audience engaged with the video. So I'll just give a few options. NAND, NOR, and something like this, right? And we can select which option is correct and which option is wrong, right? And just do save. Right, so this is how, while the student is watching the video at 13:01, at the timestamp 13:01, while this is going on, this question is going to appear on the side, right? And the student will have to select one of these two options. You could also include an open-ended question. That means you don't give multiple choice questions. You just ask a question and the student has to type the answer. You could also include a note where there is no question or anything, but just an additional note that you want to add, particularly at this timestamp, something that you want the students to pay attention to or note for this particular slide. Right, so like this, you can add multiple questions here, and all those questions will appear on the left side here. Okay. At the end, after you're done, you just go through the entire thing one more time and you click on finish. So like this, you could have say 5 questions in every video just to keep the student engaged and to get an idea of how much they're understanding. You can edit this, or you can go to assign. Right? When you click on assign, right, so I go to import class, go to Google Classroom. It is showing me the currently active classes. So I have already integrated my Google Class with EdPuzzle, but before this, you would typically see an option of integrating Google Class. So I'm selecting the option of test class that I want to import. After the class is imported, remember to go to the Students tab and click on Import Students to import the list of all students from your Google Classroom to EdPuzzle. Okay. So I'm selecting test class and clicking assign. You can also, just like on Google Class, you can set a start date or a due date. So if you want to make the questions mandatory, you don't want the students to skip questions, you can turn on prevent skipping. You can also turn on this option so that the moment you click assign over here, this particular assignment in the form of a video automatically gets posted on your Google Classroom as well, and the students will get a notification. And you click assign. So after assigning, we click on post on Google Classroom, and when we check here, we see that this has been posted via EdPuzzle as a video assignment. Now, the interesting thing about this particular assignment is that once the students click on this assignment, they are redirected to EdPuzzle. They just need to log in through their Google account with which they had logged in to the Google Classroom. And the interesting thing is that when they play this video, there is no option to forward it, right? They can only go back. They can only go backwards. There is no option to forward this video. And since we already disabled the option of skipping answers, that means when they reach a particular question, there's no other option but to answer that question and then move forward. The student cannot submit this assignment until they have watched the entire video. Right? This is how you can make sure that the student actually watched the entire video. By including questions in between the video, you've made this video interactive. And by looking at the answers that they post, you can get an idea of how well they are understanding what is being discussed in the video. Once the student actually submits this assignment, let me show you an additional advantage of EdPuzzle. So I'm going to my classes, to this other active class that I'm currently teaching. These are all the assignments that I have posted via EdPuzzle. So these are all the video lectures during the lockdown that were posted. As you can see, say lecture 19 was a long lecture, so I broke it into 2 parts, called it 19A and B. Similarly, lecture 18 was also too long, so I broke it into 2 parts, just so that students can conserve their data per day. Also, because if somebody does not have a reliable internet connection, then if they lose connection in the middle of the video, then they may have to start over, right? So it's better to have shorter videos so that you can actually maintain the attention span, you can conserve the data. Let us see how it looks like. When you click in, you can see all the students who submitted, how much marks they got individually, whether they submitted on time or they submitted it late. And all these students were automatically imported to EdPuzzle when I imported my Google Class here. If you click on questions, I had put 5 questions here. For each question, I can see how many students got this question right. Now, going back to students, suppose I click on individual students' progress. Right? So I clicked on a particular student. You notice that it shows how many marks the student got. Currently, one limitation of EdPuzzle is that by default, the number of marks for each assignment is 100. That means whatever score you get it on 100. Right? You can't change it. But again, this is not such a big limitation, because when you export these grades to Classroom and then you will download them in an Excel sheet, you can always scale them according to your requirement. Shows me how many marks the student got out of 100. What percentage of the video did the student watch? So the student watched 100% of the video. Correctly answered 4 out of 5 questions. Right? The total time the student spent on this video is 57 minutes, and student turned it in on time. Another interesting feature of EdPuzzle is that you can actually see the number of times the student watched each section of a video. So it divides the entire video into 10 sections, and you can actually see how many times a particular section was watched by the student. So it may happen that when the student is trying to answer a question, suppose the first time they were not watching it attentively, right? The moment a question comes, so they want to go back and watch that section again. So it also gives you an idea of how much effort the student is putting in each video, and whether the student is actually watching the video. If I go to the next student, this is the pattern for the next student. Right? Then the next student. The student has watched every section just once, but got all answers correct. Right? So on an average, you can see like this for each student, how many times they have watched each section and how much time they spent on each video. If you start noticing a pattern, that means a large number of students are watching a particular section of your video again and again. It may also be indicative of some problem in your delivery in that part. So it may happen that there's certain part that maybe the instructor did not explain it in such a clear way that all students had to go through it again and again, right? So it's also kind of a feedback that instructors can take constructively to improve how they present or express a particular topic. Here also, for each question, the student can also drop a comment, and the instructor can also drop a comment. So after all this is done, you go back to my classes, and after the deadline of the assignment is over, here we can export grades to LMS. That means LMS stands for Learning Management System. So our LMS is Google Classroom. So when I click on export grades to LMS, this will import all these marks onto the Google Classroom against this particular assignment on Google Classroom, right? Because this particular video came on Google Classroom in the form of an assignment. So the student can turn in the assignment only after watching the entire video and after answering all the questions. And it gives you a very clear idea of which student actually has had access to all the video lectures, how they are receiving the videos, whether they are able to understand it or not. So one can use EdPuzzle just to recreate the exact experience that one would have in a class, where you could pause and ask a question. You can make your own video lectures, or any video for that matter from YouTube, as an interactive video. As a suggestion for anyone who's creating video lectures and uploading, I would strongly advise that you upload your videos on YouTube instead of sharing it directly with the students on Google Classroom, because individually the video size may be very large, and to view them, the students may require a large amount of data again. But if you upload them on YouTube, those who have limited data can always select the option of a lower video quality, and they can still view the entire video. Using EdPuzzle is free of cost, but to start with, you have 20 spaces allotted to you. That means you can create 20 videos, but you can always earn more spaces through referrals. So that was about EdPuzzle and how one can continuously monitor the progress of the students online. If a student is not able to attend live sessions, then this could also serve as a way of marking their attendance, because the student will have to have gone through the entire video and have answered every question. So it can be considered as a form of virtual attendance too for those who do not have the connectivity to attend live sessions. So thank you for watching this. I hope you found this useful. You're welcome to try out Google Classroom through your personal Gmail or via your institute's Google Suite. If you have any questions, please feel free to write to me. You can also check out my YouTube channel where I upload video lectures on some selected topics of basic electrical engineering courses. I also thank the organizers of this faculty development program from JG College of Commerce, Hubli, for having me here today for this session. I wish you all the best, and I hope you all enjoy the digital classroom experience. Stay safe and thank you.